I just wanted an Oreo McFlurry, that's all. But instead of ice cream, I got cops' humiliation and a woman who decided to turn my life into her personal crusade. One minute I was in a McDonald's drive-through, the next I was standing on my lawn watching that same woman crash her minivan through my fence, screaming that I didn't belong in my own neighborhood. It started on one of those long, soul-draining days where the air itself feels heavy. I'd just finished a 12-hour shift at the plant, covered in grease, my back screaming for mercy, and the only thing keeping me going was that simple, stupid McFlurry. I pulled into the drive-through, my old red sedan humming beneath me some old-school hip-hop on the radio. For the first time all day, I felt my shoulders loosen. The smell of fries hung in the air. I was seconds away from ordering when the side door of the restaurant burst open. She came marching out like a storm cloud in yoga pants. Late 50s helmet blonde hair, lime green shirt stretched tight, and a face twisted in outrage. She planted herself right in front of my car, hands on hips, blocking the lane like she owned the pavement. I killed the music, rolled down the window, thinking maybe I'd dropped something. "Can I help you, ma'am?" I asked. Her answer hit like a slap. "You people aren't supposed to be in this neighborhood, let alone driving a car like that. Go back to where you came from." For a second, I couldn't even breathe. You people? It's a phrase you hear in history books, not in line for a milkshake. The teenager at the pay window froze, the family behind me stared, and I just sat there trying to process that raw, unprovoked hatred. "Ma'am," I said quietly, "I'm just trying to order some ice cream." She jabbed a trembling finger toward me. "Don't lie to me. I saw you casing the place. You were parked here for 10 minutes. What are you planning?" "Selling drugs. Robbing someone." I laughed, not out of humor, but disbelief. "I was on the phone with my mom," I said, waiting for the line to die down, but she was already dialing 911, her voice shifting into some kind of trembling performance. "Yes, officer, there's a suspicious man in a red car. He's stalking me. He's trapping me." I hadn't moved an inch. My car was in park. The only aggression was the one standing in front of my hood, so I pulled out my phone and started recording. If she wanted to build a fantasy, I was going to film the truth. When the cops arrived, lights flashing red and blue across the asphalt, I felt my stomach drop. I'd never been in trouble a day in my life, but there I was, ordered out of my car hands where they could see them. They questioned me like a suspect while she stood off to the side, spinning her fairy tale about the menacing man who followed her. I showed the officer my video, clear proof that she'd started it, but all he said was, "Nobody's getting arrested tonight." Then they escorted her out of the parking lot like she was royalty. I stood there humiliated, my so-called McFlurry dream melting away with the taillights. When I finally got home to my quiet little subdivision, Maple Oaks, the kind of place where lawns are trimmed with military precision, I thought the nightmare was over. Until a beige minivan rolled slowly up the street and stopped across from my house. The headlights stayed on, beaming straight into my window. I couldn't see the driver, but I didn't need to. It was her, the same woman, the same rage. That was the moment I realized she wasn't done with me. The days that followed were a blur of paranoia. Every evening, that same minivan would creep by, slow and deliberate. Once I found a note tucked under my windshield wiper. Flowery, stationery, perfect handwriting. "Some people just don't belong here. For the safety of our community, you should consider moving. No signature." But I knew. Neighbors I'd chatted with for years started avoiding eye contact. Mr. Gable, the guy with the prize-winning roses, wouldn't even wave anymore. Rumors spread through the HOA about how I'd threatened a woman at McDonald's about my temper. I started keeping a log, writing down every drive-by, every time the beige van slowed outside my house. I installed security cameras. I didn't sleep much. Every sound outside felt like a warning. There was one night I stood by my window watching that van idle at the end of my driveway, and I felt hollow. Like maybe she was right. Maybe moving away would just be easier, safer. But then I caught sight of the framed photo of my parents on the shelf, the people who worked 2 jobs each so I could have this home, this life. And I knew no, I wasn't leaving. If she wanted a war, she picked the wrong man. That weekend, I decided to take my peace back. I invited my buddies Mike and Dave over for a backyard barbecue, music, laughter, smoke from the grill curling into the summer air. For a while, it felt normal again, until Mike's voice cut through the noise. "Dude, shark alert." I turned. The beige minivan was parked down the street. She was filming us. I felt the anger boil up from my chest. Weeks of fear, humiliation. Silence, it all broke loose. I slammed down the spatula, marched straight toward her. She smiled, phone raised like a weapon. That's when it hit me. This was a setup. She wanted me to explode, to capture the angry black man moment she could twist into proof. So I stopped 20 feet away, shoved my hands into my pockets, and changed the script. "Susan," I said evenly, "you're on public property, but you're filming my private residence and guests without consent. That's harassment, and I've been recording every single time you've done it." Her smile faltered. "I can film whatever I want. It's a free country." "It is," I said, "and I'm using my freedom to document you too." I raised my phone camera steady. Mike and Dave joined me, phones out, silent witnesses. That's when she snapped. Screaming, shaking, she stomped back to her van, slammed the door, jammed the keys, and hit the gas. Except her wheel was turned. The van lurched forward, jumped the curb, and crashed straight through my white picket fence. The sound was deafening. Splintered wood, twisted metal silence. We stood frozen, filming. She sat behind the wheel, eyes wide like she couldn't believe what she'd done. Dave called 911. She suddenly jerked the van into reverse, ripping a section of fence with her, trying to flee. I stepped forward, blocking the driveway. "You're not leaving, Susan. The police are coming. You did this." When the sirens arrived, it was the same 2 officers from McDonald's. They saw the wreck, the video evidence, my destroyed fence. This time, there was no debate. "Ma'am, you're being placed under arrest for destruction of property." Watching them cuff her was surreal, not satisfying, just heavy. Like I'd finally exhaled after holding my breath for weeks. But the peace didn't last. A week later, I got a call from my lawyer. She'd filed a counter-complaint. Claimed I'd threatened her with a weapon. The weapon, my weed whacker. She was turning the whole story upside down. I almost gave up then. The stress, the money, the lies, it felt endless. But my lawyer, Mr. Chen, explained, "It's a Darvo move, deny attack, reverse victim and offender. You just stay calm. The truth is on your side." So I fought back. Then came the smear campaign. A post appeared on the neighborhood app written by her. She called herself a concerned grandmother being terrorized by an unstable new resident. She painted me as a thug. A local tabloid even ran a story, "Neighborhood Terror Man with Violent Past Harasses Elderly Woman." It was all lies, but my boss saw it. I got called into his office, that article open on his computer. He said, "Handle this, Jay. I know you, but this kind of attention, it's bad for business." That was my breaking point. She wasn't just after my reputation anymore. She was coming for my livelihood. Mr. Chen filed for an emergency injunction. We presented every video, every log entry, a sworn affidavit from my ex disproving her fake restraining order story. The judge, a sharp-eyed woman who clearly had zero patience for nonsense, flipped through the evidence in silence before looking up. "Miss Peters," she said, voice like ice, "freedom of speech does not include the right to invent a man's past. You will have no contact with Mr. Johnson, direct or indirect. You will not approach his home, his job, or post about him online. Violate this, and you'll be arrested." For the first time, I saw something new on Susan's face. Fear. The following weeks were quiet. No drive-bys, no posts. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. Then one afternoon, my neighbor Maria came over. "I think I found something you should see," she said, handing me a USB drive. It was security footage from her front camera. The timestamp, 3:07 a.m., a week before the crash. The beige minivan pulled up. Susan stepped out carrying a small bag. She crept across the street onto my lawn, planted something, then hurried back to her car. When the patrol car drove by minutes later, its headlights revealed it a small yard sign stabbed into my grass. You couldn't read the words, but Maria remembered. "We don't want your kind here." That video changed everything. It proved she wasn't a scared old lady. She was a stalker. At the trial, the jury watched every clip: her at McDonald's, the fence crash, the secret night visit. I told my story about fear isolation and the choice to fight back. Then came her turn. Dressed in pearls, voice trembling, she played the victim again. Until Mr. Chen hit play on Maria's video. The courtroom went silent as the grainy image showed her sneaking across my yard. He paused the frame right on her face. "Is that you, Ms. Peters?" She hesitated, then whispered yes. "And what did the sign say?" Her voice cracked. "We don't want your kind here." You could feel the air shift. All her lies collapsed in one sentence. By the time the verdict came, I didn't feel triumph, just relief. The jury found in my favor on every count: harassment, defamation, destruction of property, emotional distress. She owed damages, legal fees, and, most importantly, silence. I never saw her again. Word was she sold her house and left the state. The HOA voted her out, stripped her title. I still check my cameras sometimes out of habit. But the street is quiet now. My fence is rebuilt. My peace, fragile but real, has returned. And the day after the verdict, I did something small. I drove to a different McDonald's, rolled down my window, and finally ordered that McFlurry. It was the best damn ice cream I've ever had, because it tasted like freedom.